Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. What if the existence of the human race depends completely on the extraterrestrial / non-human intelligent presence on Earth? What if that's the situation? What if that's what's going on, right? That would be very interesting, and would be a very good reason why some people wouldn't want to talk about this publicly. Maybe, just maybe, that's the reason why President Jimmy Carter cried back in the late 1970s when he had a discussion about this behind closed doors about what's going on with this phenomenon. Maybe that's why he cried, because he found out that without them, we wouldn't even be here. Maybe that's what the situation is, man. Maybe that is why, one of the reasons, perhaps, maybe the biggest reason why people in government don't want to talk about this publicly, because it's just too much. It would completely destroy a lot of religious views. It would just not work. It would not jibe in the minds of so many. However, there would be ways, I believe, if this is the case. Again, this is only a hypothesis, right? If that is the case, there would be a way to marry those two, religion and the idea that these beings are that we're dependent on them. I mean, there's a way. There would be ways to do that. There would be ways to modify religious beliefs so they work together. Now, and this is another reason I think a lot of people in the back of their minds, don't want to talk about this. They don't want to even think about it. They don't want to know. They'd rather just be blissfully ignorant. Or they'd rather, just like in the movie The Matrix, they'd rather just take the blue pill and just keep things like they are, keep the status quo. They don't want to take the red pill and see how things really are. Unfortunately, some of us, right, are forced to take that red pill, and then we know that we're not alone here, and then we're left to wonder, okay, what does it all mean? Why are they here? What's going on? What are they up to, right? Is it just simple exploration and they're just stopping by to check us out and then going to go away? Or are they here for other reasons? What would those reasons be? But what if we are dependent on them? What if without them, right, we wouldn't be here? Or we wouldn't be able to continue? What if all of a sudden they all left and then we just completely fall apart? We don't realize this, of course, right? But they do, and they have to stay here because they're here. They're for whatever reason. If not for them being here, we wouldn't be here. Now, I don't know if I believe in this, but this is a theory. See, once you cross the red line, once you go over the Rubicon there, like we know, a lot of us here a lot of people I'm sure who are listening to this podcast understand completely that there's some sort of a non-human intelligent presence on this planet with us. There's just no question about it. Right, based on all the reports, all the research over the decades, right, personal experiences, personal encounters, right. A lot of us were forced to take the red pill, and now we actually have absolute proof, as I've been talking about here. There's something here, folks, no question about it, absolutely no doubt. But yet, still, at this point, a lot of people don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about it because they know. It's going to it's going to cause a lot of people to freak out because all of a sudden they're going to be thinking about all sorts of possibilities about what's going on and why they're here. And then one of those possibilities is, what if this is the reason, the biggest reason why we can't talk about this, why governments don't want to talk about it, in addition to the reverse engineering aspects, right? But what if one of the bigger reasons is because without these beings, we wouldn't be able to be here. We're completely dependent on them. And if that is the case, then there's different kinds of possibilities, right? If that's the reason, then we'd have to talk about the different possibilities. If that is the case, right? If what's going on here is that without them, right, we wouldn't be able to exist. We're reliant on them being here. That without them, we can't continue, right? Or we never would have been here, perhaps, right? Then you have to look at you have to break it down further. And I've come up with an outline with the help of AI that will help explain how or why human existence might depend on an extraterrestrial or NHI presence. And we're going to go over that right now. Okay, the first possibility, number one, the genetic/creation hypothesis. This idea posits that NHIs were directly involved in the origin or engineering of humanity. Ancient intervention theory, advanced beings may have manipulated early hominid DNA to accelerate evolution or create a species capable of higher consciousness. Continuing dependence. If human biology or reproduction contains elements designed or maintained by these beings, their withdrawal might eventually lead to decline, genetically, ecologically, or spiritually. So yeah, basically this theory posits that they came here at some point, who knows how many millions and millions of years ago, and they started screwing around with Bigfoot back then, and this is the end result. We talked about this idea in the past before. That's a possibility, right? That would, if this theory is correct. There would have to be a reason. If that's what's going on, if we're dependent on them, then this could be one of the possibilities that we'd have to think about here. The second possibility, the ecological planetary stewardship hypothesis. Humanity may exist as part of a managed biosphere, with NHIs acting as caretakers or regulators. They might be ensuring Earth's long-term stability, preventing extinction events, or correcting dangerous trajectories like nuclear self-destruction. In this view, our species is an experiment or ecosystem component whose survival depends on their continued maintenance or restraint of destructive forces. This could explain the frequent connection between UFO activity and nuclear or environmental concerns. Yes. Now, this is something else we've talked about in the past before. They could be here to make sure we don't blow ourselves up. And they're like stewards of the planet. I mean, we're basically out of control. I mean, human race. I mean, just look at us, right? Just look at us. Yeah, maybe that's why they're here, to make sure that we don't end up just destroying the whole thing. Okay, number 3, the consciousness coevolution hypothesis. Here, the relationship is energetic or informational, not biological. Humanity's consciousness might be part of a larger interspecies network of sentient awareness. Our collective growth could feed or balance that network, while NHI contact could act as a catalyst for psychic or spiritual evolution. If this symbiosis were disrupted, both species, or all connected species, could experience decline in awareness or energetic imbalance. Yeah, now, and this idea is that maybe they're here because we're all part of some network and we don't even realize it, right? We're at this point, we're too stupid to realize it, right? But at some point, maybe as we advance, we'll become aware, okay, yeah, I get it now. We're all, if we all work together, we all do act in a certain way, everything's going to be okay in the galaxy. If not, well, everything's going to fall to pieces. Well, right now, that's why they're here. If without them, we would probably fall apart. Maybe they're doing things right now to make sure we don't fall apart. And in some point in the future, right, then we'll figure out, oh, this is why you had to take care of us for so long. We were like babies, and now here we're growing up, and we're all part of the same situation here. But you had to make sure that we didn't get too out of hand, because that would disrupt everything else beyond even our planet. That's what that hypothesis contends. Okay, number 4, the simulation or reality matrix hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, if our universe operates as a constructed or simulated environment, NHIs could be the architects or administrators of the simulation. Humanity's existence might be contingent on their continued operation or observation of the program. The apparent contact events would then be system interventions, debugging, recalibration, or communication with entities inside the simulation. Of course, just like the Matrix. They're here to, make sure everything continues as planned. Whose plan, I don't know, but that's why they're here. Just all it is. Again, this is all speculation, but this is what you get. This is what happens when you know that we're not alone, and you know that something's here with us. This is the kinds of ideas that could come into people's minds until we know, because we don't know. Right, I would like to know more. Right, this could be one of the reasons why the government can't talk about it, because if they do, because they're not going to have the answers for us, and maybe answers that they provide, maybe they're not even sure. Maybe they've developed some answers about what's going on here, but they just keep, the people studying this, the people in control of this secret, they keep dropping down in the rabbit hole too, just like I am right now. Maybe that's why they don't want to talk about it. And maybe we could be. I mean, this is a reason. These are some of the reasons when you look at these different possibilities in this overall hypothesis, right? This could be some of the reasons why a lot of people just don't even want to think about it, right? You showed them the proof, like with say, for instance, the Turkey UFO videos, right? They see the aliens, but then they just turn away and they say, oh, that can't be real. And they just move on with their lives because they're not ready. They don't want to think about this. It's too much for them. So they take the blue pill and move on with life. They don't want to take that red pill and think about about the situation. They don't want to even go there. It's too much. It's too much, and that might be what's happening here. I mean, the evidence is out there at this point, folks. I mean, there's no question about it anymore. You've seen it. I've talked about it on the show. We're not alone, no doubt, right? But a lot of people just don't want to even talk about it. You would think it's the biggest story of all time, but in the mind, some people, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, some people don't want to go there. They're not thinking about it, so they're continuing in the matrix here. They don't want to think about it. Okay, number 5, the developmental interventionist hypothesis. Perhaps we are a developing civilization under mentorship, like a cosmic school. Non-human intelligence may guide us through pivotal transitions like the nuclear era, planetary unity, etc., ensuring survival until we reach self-sustaining maturity. In this case, their presence functions as a cosmic safety net. If removed prematurely, humanity could self-destruct or stagnate. Yes, now under this idea, they're here to make sure that they are guiding us. Who knows? Maybe that's why they need these hybrids among us. Maybe they have to keep a closer eye on us. Maybe that's why they're here, right? I mean, apparently these hybrids that are living among us, that are sprinkled out throughout the planet here, they have the ability apparently to. Just like the aliens themselves that created them, right? They have these strong telepathic abilities, the ability to control people neurologically, right? So maybe that's what's going on in there, and that's why they're spreading out these beings to make sure, hey, we got to, we're trying to teach these people the right way, not the wrong way. And obviously, we're not there yet. I mean, just look around the world, right? We're not there yet. If that's the case, I don't even think we're close, because I don't see any difference in these days than I do in the Holocaust. To be quite honest with you, we just continue to kill each other. I mean, that's what we're doing. We act like monsters just to each other. Okay, and number 6, the spiritual or archetypal hypothesis. Even if NHIs are not physical in the conventional sense, they may represent transpersonal forces that sustain the balance of consciousness. Humanity's myths, religions, and encounters might all be ways of interacting with these entities. Without that connection, human meaning and direction could collapse, suggesting our existence is spiritually symbiotic with them. Now, I just want to take it a step further. You could, I mean, if this is real, right? Like, say, if the case is we couldn't exist without these creatures being here, if the hypothesis is correct, right? One of the things that some people could say, especially religious people, right? They could say, well, maybe they're creations of God to help maintain us, to help improve us over time. Maybe that's what's going on here. I mean, that's how you'd be able to marry this idea of non-human intelligence with religion. I mean, put it this way, one way or the other, right? When this does come out, when the cover is finally lifted, when the curtain is finally pulled back for the whole world to see, when they have no choice but to understand the reality of our existence, right? And they know there's non-human intelligence here. They're going to have to, people who are very religious are going to have to modify their religions. There's going to have to be some adjustments, right? There's going to have to be adjustments made, right? That's what's going to have to happen. And so I don't think it matters, right? I'm not saying that this hypothesis, the idea that we're dependent on them is real. I'm just throwing it out there. See, again, once you know for a fact that we're not alone, right? Then it gives you the luxury of trying to figure out, okay, what's it all about? Like some of us are beyond that red line now, right? We know we're not alone, right? Everybody else, they could stay in the dark for as long as they want, even though we know, right, that they're all wrong or lying, whatever, right? But we know that there's something here, so we have to try to figure out, okay, what's it all about? Now we could entertain ideas like this, right? That's what that's all about. But speaking of this, and one of the, like I was saying earlier here, some people, they can't deal with, they're not ready for it apparently. And I received this very good comment here recently on Spotify from JB. I just actually today I received this comment. JB on Spotify wrote, and this was for the episode, the most recent episode, Ancient Aliens drops the ball on Las Vegas alien incident. And of course, I was talking about how Ancient Aliens discussed, for only 2 minutes in an hour-long program, they only discussed the Las Vegas alien incident for 2 minutes. They only used 10 seconds of crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roders. He sat down with them for almost 3 hours for an interview, and then they only used 10 seconds of his interview. They didn't talk about the real pertinent data and evidence associated with the case, and they didn't make a big deal out of it like they should have. This is what JB wrote in response to that episode where I talked about this. He says, the evasiveness is telling. This is exactly how truth is treated when evidence is showing what you don't want to accept, lie, ignore, stigmatize, and redirect. By an incredible statistical margin, the untampered video shows beings and distortion of the video unlike any known fakes. So here it is, and most of the UFO community will not engage, let alone mainstream. Some of us must continually reshape our understanding of humanity to understand just how truth-adverse our species actually is. Yes, this was a great comment, I gotta say. I couldn't have said it better myself, actually. I mean, it's so true. I mean, we're human. We're adverse to the truth. We don't want to face truth. I mean, there's lying going on constantly within the public sphere. I mean, just constantly in mainstream news. It's all over the place. Constant lying about so many different things, right? So many different things that people are lying about just to get the upper hand on other people. That's what's going on here all the time. And this is most certainly the UFOs alien phenomenon. That's of course that's one of these things that people are just don't want to face the reality of it. And here in a case where you saw, there's no question about it, right? No doubt whatsoever that this shows that we're not alone. But yet so many people just won't. They don't want to see it. They don't want to take that. It's the ultimate red pill, right? They don't want to take it. They rather just be ignorant, blissfully ignorant. That's what they want to stay that way. I responded to JB. I said, very well put. I am so grateful there are so many others who can see what is occurring with this situation. The story has become more than just the absolute fact that this case proves there is a presence here. It is also how the world reacts to it. It's fascinating and frustrating all at once. Yes, it is very, very frustrating and fascinating. I must say it's fascinating too. There's no question about it. So with that in mind, I come up with a different list here. I have a different list I want to talk about, a different outline that I put together with the help of AI, talking about why are people, the evidence is there now. There's enough proof out there in the world to show us that we're not alone, but yet we don't want to face this. Most of us don't. This is something that everybody should be talking about and trying to get to the bottom of. It's just something you would think scientists would be excited about, but nobody really is. We're not talking about it publicly, not the way we should. Instead, what do we have? I mean, I tell you what, I am very tired of going on Twitter, Twitter X, and seeing different people in the UFO community fighting amongst each other about cover up. I mean, I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go there anymore. I'm beyond that. I had enough. Right? There's a cover up. There's no question about it. Here's the story, folks. You want to know? Let's put it into a nutshell. The reality is this: there is a faction within the United States government, as well as other world governments of this world. Right? They're covering up. They know things about this NHI presence, and they're not talking about it. And there are some people trying to expose it, trying to bring it to the forefront, right? And they're having hearings and stuff. It's a slow disclosure sort of a process, what we're going through right now. You know what? Okay, yeah, I'd like to know what the government knows. However, right, I know enough as well. Everybody should know. We know there's something here with this, right? There's nothing anybody could do to change that now. We have the evidence. It's there. But yet, there's a lot of us who just don't want to think about it. And why? That's the reason why. And I have outlined several different possibilities of why. And we're going to go through that right now. Okay, number one. Psychological defense mechanisms. Okay, of course, we talked about this before. Cognitive dissonance. Accepting an NHI presence would overturn a lifetime of assumptions about reality, science, religion, and human uniqueness. The mind resolves that tension by rejecting or rationalizing away the disruptive data. Yes, I mean, doesn't that feel like what might be going on, especially like, say, in the mind of a debunker? right? You showed them the evidence. For their whole lives, or a good chunk of their lives, they spend it talking about how there's no proof of this, right? And all of a sudden you show them the proof and they just walk away and they tell you you're stupid or you're crazy or that's ridiculous, right? Because they just can't go there. They just don't want to think about it. They want to stay where they were. They want the status quo not to change, and that's just how it is. And I think that's just, it's not just debunkers, but people out there who don't think about this, right? They don't want to go there. It's too much for them. So they just rather okay, they block it out. There's a mental block that slides down in front of their brains. Like, actually, I believe it happens sometimes when I talk about some of the cases, like the Vegas case or the Turkey UFOs or even the Compton alien, right? What different cases, particularly the Vegas case. There are some people who no matter what you do, right, they'll say they can't see it. They don't want to believe it. You're stupid. This I can't believe this, right? It's like they're angry. They get angry. You could feel the anger in the words that they write in the comments sometimes, right? You could see it because they don't want to go there. They're suffering of cognitive dissonance, and they're upset with themselves. Actually, I think more than anything that they even clicked on the channel or on the show to watch it. Now it's too late, and now they're having this this fight inside their own minds. They want it to go away. They don't want to go there. They don't want to think about it, and that's what they do. They'll walk away. Even though it's in the back of their heads, they're not going to accept it. And also another one is care management theory. When faced with evidence that humanity isn't in control, people experience existential fear. Denial restores a sense of stability. I do think that is another thing that's been going on. People just deny it. They just don't want to go there because they're terrified by it. And also normalcy bias. People tend to downplay anything that threatens their mental model of the world. Extraordinary experiences are filtered out to preserve day-to-day functioning. Yeah, they know that's too much. The idea that there's aliens here and they could be doing things to us, and who knows what they're capable of. So I can't think of that. So you know what? Blah, blah, blah. They'll put their hand. Actually, the one time I was talking to somebody about something, right? And they actually put their hands over their ears because they didn't want me to say one more word because whatever it was freaking them out. It was about UFOs and it was a religious conversation, but UFOs came into the mix, and this person's religion did not allow for that. So the person actually put their hands over her ears and went blah 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 blah. I've actually saw that actually happen. Okay, number 2, social and cultural conditioning. So this is another issue that one of the reasons potentially why people just don't want to face up to it. Institutional authority. Governments, academia, and media have historically treated UFOs as fringe topics. Most people therefore learn that taking them seriously risks ridicule. Yeah. In the mid-1990s when me and my friend Scott were out fishing and we saw that UFO, I talked about this story many times. It was an unbelievable experience. There was no question, whatever this thing was, right? It could not have been made by humans, right? There's no way. It was as big as a house. It was right there in front of us. It made absolutely no sound. It moved in ways that nothing that we have moves, right? Let me just tell you that. And then we were fishing in the middle of nowhere on this pond in this private community. We got out of there. We were shocked, right? Stunned, both of us. And we got out of there and we drove to a Dunkin' Donuts. And we weren't even talking yet about anything. And then I was sitting there, we both got a coffee, and I remember sitting down, looking up at him. I said, Scott, that was a UFO. And he said, I'm not saying anything. I'm not telling anybody. Right? That's what he said. That were his words. Right? So that's how people, immediately they don't want to say anything because that's the first thing that goes to their mind because it's been driven into them over the decades. Like people who say they saw UFOs, they're considered crazy. But then when you see one yourself, I better keep it quiet because I don't want to be looked at as crazy. Yeah, the stigma and ridicule factor. For decades, the little green men stereotype has made rational discussions seem unprofessional. Social pressure enforces silence more effectively than censorship. Yeah. It's definitely a factor. There's no question. The stigmatization efforts, which were helped along by the United States government, unfortunately, as well as other governments, they work. Congratulations. The stigma worked. Information compartmentalization. Even if local law enforcement or federal personnel observed something, their experience are often classified or dismissed, preventing collective validation. Yeah, that happens too. Okay, number 3, information quality and attention limits. Data overload. The public is saturated with conflicting claims, hoaxes, and low-quality footage. Genuine cases like Las Vegas can be lost in the noise. Yes, there's so much out there, isn't it? You can't keep up with it. You just can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with it. You know, I'll tell you what. One of my favorite channels to watch that helps me keep up with it is Cosmic Road with Jack Connor. He's like the headline news of reporting UFOs. I don't know how he does it. That's a lot of work. It's what he's doing. I'm going to tell you something. That's difficult. What he's doing to keep on top of all these different threads. It's very difficult. There's a lot of information he's been putting out there. So I know that a lot of you do check out Cosmic Road. I think it's a great channel because he's trying to stay on top of just about everything, and that's not something easy. It's not a lot of people are doing what he's doing. In fact, I'm not even sure if anybody is really doing what he's doing. It's a special channel. Anyway, media framing. News outlets tend to treat such stories as entertainment rather than data analysis, training audiences to see them as novelty rather than evidence. Yeah, I mean, look at the News Nation reports. I mean, when they talk about it on the news channels, it's always a joke. For the most part, there's always chuckles. Oh, we're talking about little green men again. That's how they handle it. So, so that people they see that kind of stuff over and over again, and that's they look at it as, oh, it's not a serious topic, when it's very serious. It's very serious. It's as serious as a heart attack. Okay, epistemic fatigue. People grow numb to uncertainty and prefer clear narratives, even false ones, over unresolved mysteries. Yeah, that's another problem with this. Like, well, look what we were just talking about here in the first half of this episode. We're talking about different possibilities under a hypothesis that posits that, hey, we're dependent on these things. See, that's too much, and people don't want to go there. This is unresolved. We don't know the answers. We don't know why they're here. So why even think about it? So I think that could be another issue here. Okay, number 4, scientific paradigms. Paradigm inertia, or Kuhn's concept. Science progresses within frameworks that define what questions are legitimate. NHI hypotheses lie outside current physics and biology, so they're often ignored until anomalies force a paradigm shift. Again, I think that there's more than enough evidence here that the scientific community should take a little bit more seriously. Okay, and also part of this same scientific paradigms, lack of reproducibility. Researchers can't yet study NHI evidence under controlled conditions. Without repeatable results, institutions default to skepticism, even if singular events are extraordinary. Yes, most certainly, right? Most certainly, that's one of the problems here. I mean, some scientists may look at the evidence that's out there, like for instance, the Turkey UFO videos or the Las Vegas videos, right? And because they can't really, you wouldn't be able to do it again, right? It's hard. How do you make something like that happen so you can test it? You can't. These were things that nobody planned for. These are things that just seem to happen. Number 5, possible active suppression, information management, or national security. If some data have defensive implications, censor systems, classified projects, secrecy itself limits public awareness. That can look like mass apathy when in fact key data never reach the open domain. Of course, there's some things being suppressed. No question about it. Number 6, existential or spiritual implications. Acknowledging an NHI presence would raise overwhelming questions. What does it mean for religion, humanity, purpose, or identity? Who controls contact? What happens to geopolitics and economics afterward? For many, it's emotionally easier to ignore than to integrate. Yes, so much easier for some people. Let me just stop there for a second, too. Somebody pointed out something that he gave it a break. There was one of my subscribers said he gave it a break for recently. I can't remember who it was now. The name. He walked away from it for a while. This is some topic. I think this is a subject you got to walk away from sometimes. I mean, I have to give it a. You see me disappear for a couple of days. That means sometimes it means not all the time, but sometimes it means, hey, I can't think about this for a couple of days. It drives you nuts. It would drive you crazy. I mean, it's just too much. It's a lot to think about, right? It really is. Even for those of us who are interested in it. Sometimes I'd rather just think about watching some movies or watching football games and things like that. Sometimes you got to give it a break. You got to take a couple steps back from this. You can't think about it constantly. You'll drive yourself nuts. Okay. Let's see. Number 7, the paradox of the extraordinary. Extraordinary evidence demands extraordinary proof, but social systems often demand ordinary context. So any single case, no matter how convincing, struggles to overcome built-in disbelief until the evidence becomes collective, repeatable, and undeniable. Yes. So that's one of the other problems that we have. I mean, even though there are so many cases now on the record. I mean, you listen to someone like Preston Dennett, like every week he has a show on, every Friday, I believe, yes. The Friday shows where he talks about 10, 15 different cases over the course of many decades. I mean, he just keeps talking about these different cases that he's researched, and it's just fascinating to find that so many different people have had encounters with these beings or close encounters with UFOs over the years. It's so much. I mean, it's undeniable, and we have proof. We have enough evidence now that we have so much different kinds of evidence too. I mean, there's the implants that some scientists have studied, and they have unearthly properties to them. If you watch Jeremy Corbell's Patient 17 documentary, or the late Ted Phillips, who did all that work on the physical trace evidence. I mean, there was thousands of cases that he looked at all over the world, and he had samples of how UFOs affected soil and plant life. I mean, there are footprints of beings found in some of these landing spots. I mean, there's so much different kinds of evidence. There's the cattle mutilations. There's all the people who who claimed to be abducted by aliens and then recall a lot of their experiences under hypnosis. And sometimes they have the evidence to show you that they were abducted. There's other witnesses noticed that they were gone. They disappeared inexplicably and then returned at some point later. There's just so much evidence out there. Anybody who studies this will come to know. You don't have to have your own experience, right? But if you were to study this, you would know after a while that, this is undeniable. There's something here with this. There's just too many instances here. There is enough evidence after all, despite what just because the scientific community hasn't gotten behind this over all these years for the most part, just because they're saying that they don't have enough evidence. There is enough evidence. I mean, Carl Sagan was basically either lying or stupid. I don't think he was stupid, so he must have been lying. And for all we know, right, he may have been part of him. He might have been a member of MJ-12. He might have been the replacement for Donald Menzel. The way Sagan acted with regard to this phenomenon seems to me that he was part of the cover-up. That I can't prove that, right? But that's what I think in my mind. But we do have enough evidence now. The Las Vegas case to me proved it. And I just want to make one final point. I actually wrote this out. The 2023 Las Vegas incident was certainly a real interaction with non-human intelligent beings. History suggests society will pass through the same sequence we've seen in other paradigm shifts. Ridicule, then debate, then reluctant acceptance, and then normalization. I think we're probably still in the ridicule part when it comes to this Las Vegas case. Maybe we're starting to get toward the debate. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, but not. I think we're probably still in the ridicule part at this point, or even the ridicule. I think we're past the ridicule. We're probably somewhere in between ridicule and debate. I think we're beyond the ridicule part. The people are shutting up about it now. At some point in the future, the next stage on this will be debate. In the mainstream at some point, we're in between ridicule and debate. And then there's going to be a reluctant acceptance, for sure. It's coming. All of these things are coming. And then it's going to be normalized in the future. At some point, people will have to accept it. That's because they're going to accept it, and then it's just going to be, okay, it's a fact. There's no question about it. You can't deny it, right? That's where we're heading with that. And this is what happens. When you get the proof, when you finally have the evidence, and you show it, a lot of people they can't look at it because they know it just leads to so many more questions, and they just can't deal with it at this point for so many different possible reasons, right? And I get it, and And I guess, this is what I'm doing right here. A lot of us, a lot of people out there, a lot of researchers. I watch a lot of different shows out there, like I just saying, Cosmic Road, Preston Dennett. I listen to Richard Dolan. There's some people out there who of course, I read a lot of books. There's some people that in the future, people are going to look back at these people and are going to say these guys are pioneers, right? Pioneers, because a lot of people didn't want to face up to reality, but yet these people kept on talking about it, right? Kept on pushing the envelope, talking about what's going on in the world with this phenomenon, right? They just kept on. They didn't care what anybody thinks about them. They're telling you outright, this is what's going on. They're telling you what they believe, or they always say, like Preston Dennett says, there's more than enough evidence at this point, right? No, there's no denying this, right? And so you just have too many people, too many cases. It just makes it impossible to be not happening, right? And there's a cover up, and we have the stuff going on in Congress. We got all of that stuff going on. We're moving in that direction. So at some point in the future, a lot of these people you see in the news these days, like those guys I was just talking about. Then you have the other whistleblowers like Grush and Elizondo, and you have people like George Knapp and Corbell. All these people, at some point in the history books of the future, people will be looking back at those names, as well as a lot of the people that came before them, right? I mean, the Donald Keyhoe, Major Donald Keyhoe, Stanton Friedman. There's so many different names out there. James McDonald. Researchers that weren't afraid, despite getting ridiculed and despite the pushback from government. There's so many different people that the history books are going to look back favorably on the people that tried to get people's eyes opened on this, right? To show the world, hey, we need to be thinking about this. I think we need to be thinking. I did a show recently where I was talking about the importance of the world waking up to this already, right? The whole world, not just a small group. I think we all need. I think this is the biggest thing of facing us. I mean, I want to know what's going on. I mean, all these things could be possibilities that we're talking about here today. I mean, everything's on the table at this point, and that's why I think all heads need to get together on this to come up with answers. I mean, how do we get answers? What does the government know? Even if it's not enough, even if they don't have all the answers, they should still come clean just so we could take it from there. I think everybody needs to be involved, not just a few people in some smoke-filled room somewhere, right? I mean, everybody needs to be talking about this, trying to figure out the implications and what it all means. And what do governments know at this point about these visitors, or are they visitors? I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities, just like we were going over. Anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.